I was in an SLT meeting and I did tell them, please don't have this on the third Monday. So hopefully it'll be changed. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I don't know if we will all introduce. I'm Frances Gonzalez. I'm co-president of President's Council. I don't know if my co-president is here. Jahira, are you here?
I don't see her.
Okay, I see Angela Lamb, who is our treasurer. If you want to just say hello, Angela.
Hi everyone, my name is Angela and I'll be the treasurer for this year's President Council, and I'm also the president in PS 163. Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't know if Carlos is here. Carlos and Rachel. Rachel, are you here?
I don't see them.
Okay.
I sent them a text though.
Okay, so that's our board for this year, and we're here to serve you. So at this time, we want to say welcome, and we have two presenters tonight. We have one coming up at 7, and so Danielle, I guess, well, we don't have the minutes as to write from the.
No,
June.
I requested them and I'm waiting for her to see if she's gonna send them.
Okay, so we'll table that for next week, and we haven't, our treasurer's report. Angela, we haven't had any activity because we're not in person. And that's something that we'll talk about after our presenters. At this time, I'm going to pass it on to our superintendent, Ms. Danielle Domingo.
Thank you so much, Frances. I am really so excited to see so many people on our meeting tonight. One of the things that we've spent a lot of time working on over the past few years with past presidents of President's Council, as well as with Frances, is in building parent leadership, right? So I think it is my honor to be here with all of you tonight. One of the things that I do offer to you as your superintendent is now is the time when we meet that I will give you information, but it's also an opportunity for you to ask me questions at any of the meetings. So I really want to say welcome and thank you to our parent leaders. And one of the things that Frances and I have already started talking about is ways to gather information from you so that I can bring any type of information and training that you would want as parent leaders that you can work to build capacity at your school. So I am here with my team tonight to support you. We have a lot of really new and exciting things that are happening across the district, and I just want to share a few of them with you tonight. So one of the things that the chancellor has asked all superintendents to do is to write a 90-day plan around something that we would do the first 90 days of school that started August 1st, but then that goes through the 90 days. So I'll be speaking briefly about that today. But then he also asked that we engage in a listening and learning tour across our school communities. So that has started about 2 weeks ago. I started engaging with the community in both virtual and live sessions. Tomorrow I will be at 165. Wednesday I am at PS 29. And Friday I am meeting with teachers for teacher time. So I have also engaged with our local elected officials, some of our community-based organizations. I did a presentation at the library with the Chinese American Parent Association. I've been communicating with our principals. I'm going to do a listening and learning walking tour with our students, where we're going to go to different community stores and form partnerships with them. Some of our principals have already done that. So I'm really excited about the engagement work that has emerged from this chancellor in terms of his expectations, but it's also emerged as a newness for me as we're coming out of this pandemic. So I'm very excited to be back in the community and to meet with all of you. So if there's anyone that would like to invite me to a PTA meeting, you can feel free to reach out to Esther. I can't make everyone, but I would love to be able to spend some individual time at PTA meetings if there's something that you want me to come and speak towards. So I'm really, I do want to say that the start of this school year was amazing. And I'm actually a little bit later in my presentation going to talk about that. But something for you guys to have, and we'll be sharing this presentation, but you could also take notes for yourself, is we want to make sure that all of our families have District 25 parent contact information. And there's many ways to contact us. You could call, text, or leave a voicemail to 347-850-3048. You can email us at contact@d25.nyc. You can visit our websites to send a message, which is listed below, or you can message us through social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So one of the things that we're asking parent leaders is if you can share this contact information at your next PTA meeting, so our community members will know how to get in touch with us. So next slide. As many of you guys know, I'm really proud of the work that we do across our community to live our vision every day. This vision statement was created with our families, our students, our school administrators, our school teachers, and it really captures how our different schools, our different communities allow us, and the diversity of the work that we do together allow us to build the strong foundations that we have across our schools. We talk about fostering our beliefs and empowering learners, giving them a voice of their learning, embracing our differences, and providing access and opportunities for all of our learners, both our accelerated learners and those who need supports who are outside the sphere of success. We want to make sure that they get there to be successful. Next slide. This is our mission statement, and it just talks about our core values that drive our vision: strong roots and strong schools. We believe in growing and learning both individually and collectively, and that includes students and adults. Our focus is on building high quality instruction, rigorous curriculum, and strong personal and professional learning plans that also focus on getting better at the learning in terms of the instructional core, which is the relationship between content and teachers and students, but also working on our CRSE work, embracing differences, supporting learning and innovation through high levels of student engagement, critical thinking, and problem solving for our students. It's also about fostering our beliefs in equity and resurfacing patterns and practices across our schools that may contribute to inequity through analyzing multiple data sources. And I'll talk a little bit about that in how we started off the year with our teachers and school administrators. Next slide. So here's how we started off strong. I do invite all of you to visit our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram page. All of our building leaders and teachers did such an amazing job in welcoming our students back to school. And I am telling you, it's going to be the best year yet. We have just a few pictures here. Bell Academy 169. They had ice cream and their Bolts mascot welcomed all students back to school. PS 120 had somebody walking on stilts. As you see, Tiffany Neely, everybody excited to be back and hugging her. So it was just an amazing and successful beginning of our school year. We were also really fortunate to have our chancellor who visited 244, and our deputy chancellors visited 185, and our comptroller visited 163 and spent some time with students and staff. So District 25 is recognized. People want to come here and be around us and see our schools and our students and our communities. Next slide. So we also have a brand new team that I'm really excited to share. For the first time, we have opportunities for staff members that are direct supports to our schools. So I just want to introduce you to our team members that we also call Team Awesome. And underneath their pictures are their names. I want to let you know everybody has a great picture except me. My picture's getting changed. Wait, I just want to go through that, Marissa. Don't go so fast because I hate my picture, but everybody else looks great. So as you know, Dr. D'Antona is still our deputy superintendent. We love him. He's amazing and works alongside me in support and service to our schools. Beverly Mitchell is our executive director of school supports and operations. She works with our schools for facilities and student services, as well as community affairs. Louis Latito remains our field support liaison, supporting us in everything that we need, as well as making sure that principals, that we are communicating successfully with principals around both our initiatives and important information that they need from us, as well as central offices as well. You can keep going. Debbie Winkler is our teacher development and evaluation coach. We have 4 instructional leads that are supporting our schools, and each of our instructional leads is working together around our initiatives and priorities this year. But they've also been assigned to different cohorts of schools where they'll be going in and giving direct supports to our building leaders and teachers. That's Anna Arrigo, Angelique Hewitt, Melinda Willens. She'll be, Anna and Angelique will be working with our elementary schools, and Melinda will be focusing her work on our middle schools. We also have Diana Stein. She is an instructional lead for health and wellness and physical education. She is has been working alongside District 25 for many years, and she helped get us in compliance with our physical education by helping our principals to find, train, and hire some of the most amazing physical education teachers in the city, state, and world. So we want to thank Diana, welcome her back to continue to support. We also have 2 academic intervention service coordinators, Arifa Khan and Danielle Bergman. Tracy Vaughn remains our academic policy, performance, and assessment lead, and she helps keep our principals in compliance with programming, as well as ensuring that our students are programmed successfully for their English as a second language resources, as well as their special education. She also services on academic policy with things such as report cards around promotion. So we welcome back Tracy. Nathan Yakabov is our administrator of special education, and he has been amazing in connecting with the community. He was with me when we had our collaborative meeting with Kappa for our community, where he presented around special education referral process. And he also just presented at our last CEC meeting. Richard Braun is our L compliance and performance specialist. And Wing Yi Chun is our school social worker supports. And Esther Maludo remains to be the family leadership coordinator, supporting all of you with the work that you do as parent leaders. So we welcome back Esther. Marissa Martin is our community coordinator. She does outreach and communication with local community members as well as elected officials. And she also focuses on sustaining our communication digitally and social media. And Janet Ayala Capo is my administrative assistant. So we have expanded our team, and I know it's just going to help us better support you as well as our schools and your students. Okay, next slide. So this is just briefly my some of the things that I will cover during my listening and learning tour. In order to register, you can visit www.d25.nyc/event, and that is both digital and in person, virtual and in person. And it also gives you an opportunity to ask questions in advance, but there'll be time for you to ask questions at the events as well. Next slide. I will be discussing my 90-day plan, where we'll talk about our Strong Roots, Strong Schools mission and vision, and how it focuses on our expectation of excellence, equity and diversity, wellness and safety, and empowering our learners. Next slide. These are just the different areas that I'll be in, but once again, you can look that up on www.d25.nyc/event. Okay, so one of the things that we really worked with our building leaders and teachers this year is our focus on starting off strong. We've talked about the importance of our schools, the adults in our buildings knowing our students well, knowing their needs, both academically and social emotionally, and be ready to get right to work to close those learning gaps that have happened because of the pandemic. And our schools are ready. It has been a pleasure for me to walk through schools and see the amazing things that they're doing for our students in terms of love and welcoming them back and making them feel comfortable through the establishment of warm and welcoming environments, but also really getting to work and getting our students learning right away and making sure they have the tools and resources to do them. Through our expectation of starting off strong, it was about a strategic review of data, and not just the state data that was released. It was also about other types of perceptual data, student surveys, teacher surveys, looking at student work, curriculum, making sure that we're looking at everything that we need in order to close those learning gaps and get our students where they need to be in order to successfully meet the standards. Targeting specific areas of need by school. And one of the ways that we're doing that as a district is Dr. D'Antona tomorrow. He and I are starting our one-on-ones in the building, where we'll be going over data with principals and discussing their school priorities to make sure that they're focusing on the right things. And that's what we're talking about in targeting areas of need. Researching possible solutions. That's our job, to help our principals make sure that if we see certain gaps in our data that we need to address, or things that we want to lift up, that they have the tools and resources to make sure that they can get the professional learning and other supports needed. And then we're going to work with our schools to organize, facilitate, and communicate professional learning opportunities for our teachers, or the development of support plans for our students. Then there will be new implementation of learning, assessment, and feedback given to teachers and students, both by myself and Dr. D'Antona, as well as support feedback coming from our instructional team. And then as a district, we will gather feedback to make sure at different points in the year, and as we benchmark, to make sure that learning is happening in the way it needs to across our schools. Next slide. This is a visual of our expectations for our schools. First, we ask for them to do a deep analysis of data. You're going to hear our school communities talk to you about our focus on reading this year. We want to get better at reading to make sure that our students are prepared for the different levels of reading by grade bands. We're going to continue our work in our equity visits, looking at our students who are performing outside the sphere of success, particularly in reading this year, and then to provide MTSS supports, the multi-tiered systems of supports for all of our learners so they can be successful, as well as embed our expectation of culturally responsive and sustaining education so our students see themselves within their learning. Next slide. So our areas of focus this year and district-based supports. In grades K-3, we're going to be working on deepening our foundational reading skills for our students. That's learning to read. All of us are going to support one another in helping our students learn to read well. Many of you as parents will recognize that we've used the curriculum foundations. We're going to continue to do that to make sure that our teachers truly understand and are using it with fidelity, but are also looking more closely at phonics and phonemic awareness, because some of our data shows that we have gaps in that area. Hegarty is going to be the intervention supports for our struggling readers. And over 350 of our teachers are going through letters training. And letters training is, it's reading in the brain and what happens to your mind when you're learning to read. And it supports teachers in recognizing when those elements of reading are happening and when they need to target certain areas to support our learners in learning to read. In grades 3 to 5, we're going to be focusing on the 5 pillars of reading, which is continuing our phonics, phonemic awareness, but also making sure that our students have the fluency skills that they need, as well as the decoding skills that they need, and are starting to really build strong comprehension skills and strategies as well. And then we also have a Clavis L pilot, which is an intervention support for our new language learners. And then in our middle schools, we're going to be focusing strategically on the disciplinary literacy standards in reading to learn. So we're going to focus specifically on close reading of complex and compelling text, looking specifically at nonfiction. Students will be reading fiction too, but we'll also be doing some interdisciplinary work with social studies. But really, it's about supporting teachers in the reading to learn skills, but also ensuring that they're providing access points around grade level texts. So our students are really gaining those critical thinking and comprehension skills that they need in order to be successful in high school and beyond. Next slide. So this work is also strategically aligned to the Chancellor's 4 pillars and big goals. You'll hear us spending a lot of time talking about reimagining the student experience and what that looks like in scaling and sustaining what works. And one of the things you'll hear me say is that District 25 does some really amazing things that we want to make sure that we capture and build upon and not just start over. Prioritizing wellness and its impact on student success is something that we have done for many years. It is an expectation. We're going to continue to grow in our work in that, and deepening our partnerships with parents. So one of the things that we did, and you can go to the next slide, Marissa, is that we took the Chancellor's 4 pillars and engaged in some work with our principals and our teachers. We wanted to make sure that we were all working together around the same lens, and we actually defined together the expectations from the pillars, what we heard the Chancellor saying, and the work that we're currently doing aligned with these pillars, and what else are we going to do to deepen our roots. And this is the tool that we're going to begin to use to scale and sustain, but also to build upon the practices that we can do better this year. Next slide. Really important, we want to make sure, and something that I've worked with Esther on is, I know that many of you do have this, but if you could promote this at your PTA meetings. The new schools account, the NISCA portal, is being expanded, and it will allow you to do many different things in one login. So we want to make sure that all of our parents know about and have NISCA accounts. So not only will you be able to see your students' grades, test scores, and more, but you'll be able to take classes through Parent University, report bullying, access forms such as media consent, request to identify parents on active duty, special education recovery students for students with IEPs only. So there's many different things that we can do through NISCA accounts. And as parent leaders, I'm asking that we work together to make sure all of our parents have these accounts. Okay, next slide. In a minute, I'm going to go through these 3 guiding questions, but I think that's the last part of the meeting, right? What's the next slide, Marissa?
The next slide is the 3 questions. And then
Is it the days off that we have?
the calendar updates.
Yeah, just do the calendar update first, and then we'll do the 3 questions. Okay. I just wanted to very quickly give you guys some calendar updates. Well, Thursday, September 15th obviously passed. That was parent-teacher conferences for elementary schools. Thursday, September 22nd is evening parent-teacher conferences for middle schools. We are off this Monday and Tuesday for Rosh Hashanah. And Thursday, September 29th is evening parent-teacher conference for high schools, K-12 and 6-12 schools. Wednesday, October 5th, school is closed for Yom Kippur, and Monday, October 10th, it's closed for Italian Heritage and Indigenous Peoples Day. Okay, now we can go back to the thank you. Okay, so on my listening and learning tour, and it's something that I'm asking you tonight as President's Council, I'm going to be asking the community these 3 questions. I will answer any question that they ask, but I really want to hear from the community around things we're doing well in District 25. What areas do we need to strengthen? And what advice do you have for me to make sure that I'm ensuring that the areas that we need to do better are working? There's a couple of ways that we are saying to the community that they can share their feedback. You could do it at this meeting, but you can also email us at event@d25.nyc or online at www.d25.nyc/feedback. Okay, so Marissa, you could flip through these, but during the listening and learning tour, I will go through each guiding question. What are we doing well? What areas do we need to strengthen? And what advice do you have for me? So at this time, I want to open up the floor to President's Council to see if anyone has any feedback for me or wants to ask any questions.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Anyone have any questions, comments, feedback? No feedback. You know, you answered all their questions.
Well, parent leaders, I do want to say, I want you to always feel comfortable coming to me in representing your community. There is nothing that you will ever say, and you can ask Francis from the work that we do together, there is nothing that parent leaders can say to me that I don't use to either fix a situation or make the work we do together better. So I never want people to say or feel uncomfortable engaging in these conversations with me. One of the things that people will know is if I don't want to hear the feedback, I won't ask for it. So I really want for all of our parent leaders to know that this, maybe today you may not have any questions, but please know that you can always reach out to me during these meetings or before or after at any time during the month, because I think that's important that you have the tools and information that you need to help lead and support parents across your community.
Yes.
Hi, I just have one question.
Sure.
Yeah, so you're taking turns to visit the schools, or it's for this year, or so every school is going to get a chance to meet you?
So yeah, so not every school will have a chance to meet me in terms of my listening and learning tour. I'm doing it at certain parts of the district. So Marissa, so if you're a mom at 237, I'm going to be at PS 24. Marissa, do you know the date offhand?
Go to the website. You can go to the website,
Yeah.
Marissa.
So I'm not going to be at every school for the listening and learning tour, but I will say one of the things that Dr. D'Antona and I do is we do one-on-ones where we visit all of our schools and meet with the principal and walk the school with them. And then we do 2 visits a year where we spend a full day in the school and we meet with parents, we meet with teachers, we meet with the principal, and we meet with students. And we really spend that day talking about what's happening there and the learning that's happening across the school, both social, emotionally, and academically. And we give feedback to the principal on what's going really well and what are some of the things that they can strengthen. So I am going to be at PS 24 on Monday, October 24th in person.
Got it. Super.
Okay, there's a comment in the chat. Christelle says, thank you for sharing. And then Junior High School 185 PTA says, I love how approachable everyone at the district is whenever we as parents or as parent leaders have questions. The transparent, I guess they meant the transparency and guidance over the years is definitely something D25 excels in.
Thank you, 185 PTA. You
Thank
are also an amazing PTA and have an amazing principal and amazing teachers.
I guess no questions.
I have a question. I'm sorry. My name is Erica. I'm with the PTA of PS 242.
Hey, Erica.
Hi, how are you? Happy Monday, everybody. My question is general for parents that have IEPs. I feel like a lot of students are getting IEPs because of the post-pandemic world that we live in. And I feel like maybe as a district, you can give a workshop or something just to explain to parents the IEP process that they have to, because a lot of parents don't know.
Yeah, so Erica, we have that on our district website. So Nathan did a presentation at Flushing Library around the IEP process. And we also just did it at the last CEC meeting. If you would like, we can come do that at individual schools for you. But we also think, and it's something that I worked with Francis on last year, is we also want to educate parents around MTSS and what are the systems of support both in the classroom and outside of the classroom through RTI and intervention programs that are available at each and every school to support a child perhaps before the referral process. So we know that parents can make that request at any time, and we're very clear about that if they want their child evaluated. But we also wanted parents to know and understand that there are other resources that they can use in addition to perhaps, requesting a referral. So we intend on continuing to do that around presenting to the community on MTSS as well. But the presentation that you're requesting, actually Lewis just put in the chat, so you'll have it.
Yeah, I want to say, just to add on, Danielle, that, and this is to Erica too, that there's a lot of children who just simply have fallen behind because of the pandemic, but some of them don't necessarily, may not have an IEP. They just need help to get back on standard. And that's what Danielle was saying is the MTSS and supports that are put in. But what happens with parents is they quickly just go to the IEP process, and that could be lengthy. And these, some students need support right now. So I think that, at any time during this, you can always ask for an evaluation, but usually it's a process within the school that
My children have IEPs already. I was just saying as an overall for
right.
the people.
But that's what
in
we're
the
saying. There's a
district.
lot of children who just need MTSS support and need extra support just to get on standard. And sometimes parents confuse that as well. But at any point, parents can always ask for an evaluation, but sometimes an evaluation can come from the school after different attempts of helping a child to succeed. So, there's just a lot of different resources, and we want parents to know about them, and we want parents to utilize them, and the schools as well to support our.
So Erica, within the training video talks about the process from pre-K to 8, well, actually to 12, but we do the pre-K to 8. And it also talks about technology as well. So I invite you to look at it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's funny you bring up the technology because one of my children has been waiting since June for a device.
Since June, for
Assistive technology device, yeah.
assistive tech. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So,
you can, and here's the great thing where I said about how our expanded team, you can reach out to Nathan because he now works solely with District 25, and his email is in this presentation that we'll be sharing with you, and you can email him directly for supports.
thank you.
He just started August 1st and he's been doing a great job making sure our students' needs are met.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Nathan. We'll be in touch.
He's not here. He'll be back on Wednesday. So
But you can tell him in advance.
I will tell him. He's great.
Thank you.
I don't see, do we establish a meeting schedule for this meeting? Do you mean the agenda?
Yes, the board has established meeting dates and they're following their bylaws. Meetings for President's Council are every third Monday of the month, except if there's a holiday or something major going on, they go ahead and skip that to the fourth week of the month. And the schedule is in the chat. I already dropped it in the chat so you could go ahead. Also, your parent coordinators at your school, and it's also on our website.
Thank you, Esther. Any other questions before we move on to our next presenter?
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be here tonight and present. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for always being here to answer our questions, and just hang tight in case there's other questions, unless you have to leave. But thank you. I want to introduce Shirley. Shirley.
I'm here. Can you stop sharing the screen so I can share my screen? Thank you.
Shirley is one of the co-chairs from CPAC. I get to attend the meetings every month and hear Shirley give a wealth of information that, so that we all need. So she's here tonight to talk about a great presentation that they actually presented at CPAC. And I asked her to come here today to present it. So thank you, Shirley, for doing this for us. And we're going to talk about expedited elections, which many of you are probably doing if you don't have full boards. So Shirley, take it away.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. My name is Shirley Obey. I'm co-president of Queens High School President's Council. This presentation I'm here as Queens High School President's Council. For those so Queens High School President's Council have all high schools, PAPTAs as our membership. So we have like 87 members here under our membership. What is so great about this is that we get to sit on all the district leadership team in the borough. We're a part of all the district leadership team in the borough, and being able to collaborate with the elementary, middle schools, and all the schools across the district offices. So we sit here, so in collaboration with working with your family leadership coordinator, we always work together all the time. Esther, in collaboration with President's Council 25, we also collaborate with C25 and the superintendent's team, where I am happy to be here. I love this district. My district is District 26. So we share the same geographic location, but again, as Queens High School President's Council, I get to see all the entire borough. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about expedited elections. I don't see, hold on. Okay, share screen, there it goes. All right, Queens High School President's Council. This was part of our president's report that we did on Monday. We had our meeting on Monday. So it's the fall. So if you're unable to fill all your seats, or you wasn't able to do elections in the spring, fall elections are expedited as per the chancellor's regulation. What is the difference between expedited and regular election, PAPTA elections? The difference is that there is no nominating committee. That means that all nominations are taken from the floor. There's no pre-nominating individuals. All nominations are taken from the floor. And that's the difference. Everything else stays the same. So we're going to go over the election process and election chair. And as we go, if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hands, and Francis will monitor for me. And also, when you take this information, when you take it in, please share it with your membership. We want our PAPTAs to be high functioning. We will be able to, so if they don't want to volunteer as being a board member, they can volunteer to do elections for the PAPTA. So what does the election team does? The election chair. The election chair introduced the election team or asks for volunteers before the duties of a note taker and timekeeper. The election chair is going to explain the process and expectations during the election. In all, if you can have a note taker and timekeeper beforehand, it will be preferable, but sometimes you need to give a little nudge and get volunteers on the day of election. So what an election chair is going to do is going to open the nomination floor for a position. So before opening the nomination floor, the election chair is going to read the roles and responsibilities of that role. When they open the nomination floor, and we're going to use an example, right now it's 7:15 p.m. Nomination floor is open for PAPTA president. Nomination floor will be open for 2 minutes. Then your timekeeper is going to keep track of the 2 minutes and let the election chair when time is up. During those 2 minutes, you're receiving nominations from the floor. Once the nomination floor is closed, and we're going to say the time now is 7:19 p.m., the nomination floor is closed for PAPTAs. One of two things can happen. You could either repeat or reading and getting nominations for each position, or you can automatically do the voting for that position. It varies from PAPTA. I prefer to get all the nominations for all the positions first, and then do one ballot to vote for the position, for each position that is open. So the A660 states that the PAPTA Executive Board responsible to create that election notice and submit it to the principal or parent coordinator, if your school don't have a parent coordinator, whoever's a school designee, to distribute at least 10 calendar days before the election meeting. What we suggest is don't wait to 11 days, calendar days. Send the email to the principal or parent coordinator like 15 days. They have 24 hours to review the notice for appropriate language appropriateness and grammar. So give the school enough time to send out the notification in time of at least 10 calendar days before. So if elections was not done on the date that was set because quorum wasn't met, you don't have to wait till another 5 days. You have to give at least 5 days notice to reschedule that election meeting. Things that you should have ready prior to the elections. So with the change to the chancellor's regulation in November last year, November 18th, PAPTAs can do elections either virtually in President's Council or in person. So in person, most of us already know how you create the ballot, you print out ballots, anonymous ballots to place the vote. But on the virtual platform, how do we maintain anonymity? How we maintain that our votes stay anonymous? So a unique identification code could be created. That is done, that's the responsibility of the school. Usually it's the parent coordinator or the school designee. Is not the responsibility of PAPTA. These unique verification codes is equivalent to in person, the parent coordinator, whoever's the school designee who has the roster, the ATS roster, and know who all the parents or legal guardians of students who are eligible to vote. That is the verification voters eligibility process, which is the responsibility of the school. So how about ballots? There's a on the website, on the DOE website, if you don't already have those in-person ballots, you can use that. You can create. They have a form. They have a template for that as well. But how about the ballots for the virtual platform? Well, this Google form, that's my preferable. No matter what platform you're on, you can use the Google form. You put the link in the chat, and everyone will have access to it. Some like to use the polling features, like Zoom has the polling features. But just remember, if you are a host or a co-host, and if you're eligible to vote, you cannot vote if you're a host or co-host. You have to relinquish that responsibility when voting occurs. Some people use SurveyMonkey, Poll Everywhere, whatever is feasible for your membership decides how to do it, but you should prepare these ballots ahead of time, and that's the responsibility of the PAPTA. So election chair, who can be the election chair? It's a parent member who is not running for a position, and that includes a seat on the school leadership team. And like I stated before, the note taker and the timekeeper can be asked to be filled those tasks prior to the meeting or asked by membership to volunteer. And again, those roles as well, it has to be a parent member who is not running. Certification of the election. So how do the election get certified? So the principal or the assistant principal is there to certify the election. That means they witness that everything was in conformity, everything was done according to the regs and the PAPTA bylaws. So you have two people from the DOE, someone who's certifying the election, someone who's verifying the voters. So the election certification form is a PAPTA document. So it's usually filled out by the election chair or a parent. Once that election certification form is filled, you will give it to the principal or the assistant principal, whoever's certifying the election, to sign. If there's any information, the principal or the school designee can fill out the missing information. This must be done within 5 days of the election. Once that election certification is filled, the original goes back to the PAPTA for their files. The principal will keep a copy for file at the principal's office. The principal will also give a copy to the parent coordinator or school designee to input into the system, SBL-CI. This is a system for all parent leaders, and it has their contact information. Also, you can also give a copy to the members who were elected on the new executive board if they go to a meeting where the information is not updated and they represent, for example, President's Council here. If your parent coordinator didn't have time to give it to the family leadership coordinator, you have your copy of the certification form. Yes, I was elected for this school year as PAPTA president. And I would skip to the next step where the parent coordinator or the school designee will forward that copy to the family leadership coordinator. And like Francis said, we both go to CPAC, whose membership is made up of all 38 President's Council across the city. And your family leadership coordinator will send that information to FACE, who will give it to CPAC. I'm going to stop here. Do we have any questions regarding the expedited elections?
I don't see anyone's hand raised.
I just want to know that, again, make sure any information, please train or support or build capacity within your PAPTAs so they are able to do elections. Esther has done a fabulous job. She's here to support y'all to do, and President's Council, of course, to, you know, even have training so within your membership, you can be high functioning PTA and y'all can have your elections, conducting your elections yourself. I think
I don't see any questions in the chat or any of the participants, but I will ask, are there any PTAs out there who are doing expedited elections this month?
While you're looking for that, all the mandatory positions must be filled by October 31st if there are any outstanding. And it's very important to do this because the PAPTA president sits on the school leadership team, and for them to be functional or official meetings, each SLT must have that the PAPTA president elected for the school year. So if nobody has any questions.
Actually, I do. I'm curious to know, I have an SLT member that is stepping down. And there is already a parent that's interested. I'm assuming we have to have an expedited election for that SLT seat.
That's correct. And that individual will be, the election will be just to fill out the term of that seat. So let's say it's the second year of the 2-year term of the SLT. They're only going to be elected to serve out the rest of the year. So that last year. And then
so, I'm sorry. So even if there is a person that already wants to take the seat, an election has to take place and nominees from the floor need to be taken.
Yep, just like you do PAPTAs elections, it's the same process. With this SLT, if you have the PA or president is already elected, right? And you're filling out vacancy, it's the responsibility. The PAPTA will hold elections for that seat.
Okay, and the person that's stepping down, does he have to write a formal resignation letter? Does he?
Well, he should to the school leadership team.
Okay.
And the school leadership team will inform the PAPTA, well, which the PAPTA president sits on the school leadership team, that elections must be held.
Okay. Thank you.
So it'll do the same process, 10 days notice. It's for the SLT, the role and responsibility on the notification, and etc. So everything is the same.
Okay.
And just a common question that we usually get is if someone says, well, I know there's a vacancy, but we have someone who wants to fill it. Even though you have someone, you must open it up to all parents to make sure that they are aware of the vacancy in case they want to run. I just want to pass the floor to Esther in case she wants to add anything of what we're saying.
I just wanted to go back to what Shirley asked in terms of our schools. We do have, everybody's in compliance, but we have some schools that are missing either the secretary or the treasurer. So a few years ago, they amended the bylaws so that you didn't have to have all 3 executive board members to be in compliance. One of them would be sufficient. So some of our schools are having elections for that. I believe it's 3. And so, 2 of them are left. So we should be in compliance shortly before October 31st. But I will update you at the next meeting with numbers and everything.
Shirley, we have a question. If the vacancy is not for a core member, do we have to have the expedited elections before October 31st? I believe that's just for core members, right, Shirley?
Right, yes, you can fill the non-mandatory position, but again, you always go by your bylaws, right? If you are able to fill, let's say the bylaws, some PAPTAs have their non-mandatory position to do fall elections, or save certain positions for the fall, so incoming parents have an opportunity to join. But yes, it doesn't have to be done by the 31st, but you
So-
would like, go ahead.
No, there's another question, but I was just gonna answer it. But go ahead, Shirley, finish up your thought.
I would say, but it would be encouraged to get all your board together as soon as possible so you can function as a team and efficiently.
So the question is that you do not have to have all three members to be in compliance. You actually do by October 31st. I think in the summer, the bylaws were changed so that even if you had one core member, you still existed as a PTA, although you couldn't vote. But then when it comes to the fall, you would have expedited elections and you need to have all three core members in order to be able to vote on anything. So you do need that. And that's the one for October 31st, right, Shirley? I just want to make sure.
Yes, so the PTA won't cease to function in June. Before, it was a couple of years ago when they allow only one board member. If you have still one board member, it won't cease to function, but you will not be in compliance and you won't be able to do business without those three mandatory positions, which is stated in the A660, which is the president, recording secretary, and treasurer.
Yeah, and I think in June they allowed that one because you're not really voting on anything over the summer. It's not until you get back into school where you start needing to have to vote for things. So that's why they allowed it, because they understand sometimes it can get difficult to get all three core members and parents involved. But at this time, that's why they give you that deadline. If you do not have those three core members by October 31st, your PTA can cease to exist, and you don't want that because there's a lot of things that your school needs from the PTA, and the schools need the PTAs because the students need resources. So just putting it out there. Let me see.
I'm just going to add something to that. That's why it's very important those spring elections, you do your nominating committee, right? And you start from today for next year, right? Start today. Don't wait but seriously, you put on you put on the pedal, the gas in February when you want to start creating the nominations and etc. But it's very important to try to get all core members because technically, it's not technically, your term starts for the school year July 1st. So if something happens and the school leadership team needs to speak, we need to have all core members there. And on this school year, this summer, all the new superintendents or renewing of superintendents had their community walking tours and listening tours. So there was a lot of activity during the summer, and a lot of it was towards to the parent and families of the community. So it is important to try to have everyone in place by the last day of school.
Okay. Anyone want to add something? Esther, you want to add something?
Sure, thanks. So it's been District 25's practice that we encourage all our schools by the end of school to have all three members, president, treasurer, and secretary. That way you don't have to come back to school and not have a PAPTA and have to worry about having an expedited election. So we've always, in the 12 years that I've been here, have always pushed that all our schools have their elections in May, June, and push to try to get all three so that at the beginning of the school year, that's one less thing you have to worry about. That's it.
Yes, and that's very important because if you have all three, then you can actually function as a PTA. You can vote for things and get ready for the school year. Without just having one core, you really can't do that because, like I said before, you can't vote on anything because there's no technically full PTA to vote. You're just in compliance that your PTA doesn't stop existing, but it doesn't mean that you can still do business as a PTA without having those three core positions. And I always recommend parents to, especially graduating out parents would be great parents to be on the nominating committee because they're not going to be running for anything and they can help the school one last time. Also, reaching out to kindergarten parents because they just got into the school they want to meet other parents. It's a great way to get them on board, and hopefully they'll stay on. I was a kindergarten parent, and I'm still on the PTA, you know, so it's good to reach out to those parents who are new to the school and they don't know what to expect, and it's good to get them on board. Any other questions for anyone who has any questions about expedited elections or just your PTA now? Anyone? No questions, Shirley. So, okay, Shirley, if you have any final comments, if not, we want to thank you for always supporting our district, and thank you for always attending and putting the work that you do, Shirley, because by you doing that, I get to hunt you down for questions.
That goes right back at you. This is a great district. And
Thanks,
just
Shirley.
remember,
Me too.
you know, so I'm just going to say that all this works is a collaboration and partnership with all of us, just not among parents, but with our prior coordinators, with our FLC, with our superintendents, with our principals, with our teachers. Everything is done so all our students can exceed together. So have a good night, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley.
Shirley.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. So any other questions? I'll open it now to any questions you may have about your PTA, any confusion or anything that's happening in the school year. I think there was a question in the chat earlier. Let me just see if I find it. Are we able to do in-person events going forward, so long as vaccination is verified for parents? My understanding is any events happening in the school building can only include vaccinated parents right now. That's why a lot of things are happening outdoors or outside the school so all parents can be incorporated. But I believe, unless Danielle, you want to add to that, I believe you have to be vaccinated to go into a DOE building.
Yes, as of right now, you still do need to be vaccinated.
And I did ask at one of the CPAC's meetings, I did ask if that was only for school hours or after school hours, and I was told that it's the building itself, no matter what time it is.
Yeah.
So I'll just give a quick CPAC. We attended the CPAC meeting on Monday. Most of the talk was about the classroom size is going to get smaller, which a bill was passed. And if Danielle, you want to talk more about that. So I think that starts next year, I believe, but that's going to make our class sizes smaller, which means there's going to be more attention to the students, which is very good to hear. It seems that they've been fighting for this for so many years. And so I'm glad to hear that it's finally coming our way. So if you want to just elaborate on that.
Sorry, I was eating a baby Ruth. So we are reading guidance around the expectations of the city and what that will look like. But what we do know that there's going to be phase in, and then there will also be opportunities for schools that are overcrowded to opt out with plans. So, but we want to, we're waiting to get the full details of what that will look like. But, you know, the one thing that we've done in District 25 is our principals either are or work with staff members in their school that are amazing programmers. They are really creative in their work. That started as an initiative under Chancellor Farina. And it's something that we did strategically with our principals. So as this evolves, there will be communication to the school community through the school leadership team. And there will be opportunities for inputs from families as well and students.
Yeah, and then another thing that came up was a lot of security questions of safety and locking the front door. So I just wanted to say, although it may sound easy to lock the front door, it did come up in the meetings that some parents or thought that locking the front door would not be safe because of sometimes the schools are supposed to be a safe place for children. And if there's something dangerous happening outside of a school and the children needs to run into the school and that door is locked, it can be a life or death situation for that child. So I just wanted to give 2 points of view to all the parents out there that, do want the doors locked, and then those parents who, that don't, are also pushing to not lock the doors. So there's, half and half, but they did say that they are working towards finding a way to maybe control the doors or control the people coming in to the building. So they are working on it. There's no set answers yet that we were given, but at least we know they're working on it. There's also a practical guide for conducting elections or virtual platforms on Wednesday, September 21st at 6 p.m. So hopefully you received that. Esther, you sent that out to everyone, didn't you?
I did, but I'll go ahead and drop the flyers. I have them in Bangladesh, English, Spanish. I'll put them in the chat for you guys.
Do students?
You do need to register.
Do students have to be vaccinated for an in-person event in the school in the evening?
So vaccination requirements are not, vaccinations are not required for students unless they participate in sports or extracurricular activities where there's a high risk of contacting COVID. So that same guideline for last year stays in effect. And I know that there's been discussions around it, but no, if a child is just going to an evening event that is not part of the list of high contact sports, then, or curricular activities where there's a high risk of COVID, then no, they do not need to be vaccinated.
And then I guess the last major thing in the CPAC was parents were fighting for screened high schools, and then half the parents said no screens for high school. So there's always whatever, there's always two sides to everything that people request. And you have parents that are for it, and then you have parents that are not for it. So there's always 2 points of view and different things that.
So Francis, can I just make an announcement about that too? So I know that across the district, there's been some concerns around the high school application process. Matt Borgini from the Central Office of Enrollment will be at the next CEC meeting for those parents who are interested in asking questions or hearing updates to that process. So you're invited to attend, and you'll be able to inquire if you have any specific questions, particularly for your child.
And just one of the questions that came in to us recently was a school asking if they can accept online payments. And we said anything that's online that's attached to the PTA account. Obviously, you cannot attach it to anyone's personal account, and there are no withdrawals or transfers from any PTA account online. So I just want to make that clear, because it's very important. And some banks don't allow Zelle, or you have to talk to your bank to see what they do allow. And that's what you can use. And as long as it's attached to the PTA account, you should be fine.
Can I ask clarification on that?
Is there a question?
I heard.
Yeah, can I ask for clarification on
Yes.
that? So does it have to directly?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Hello? Oh, she's gonna type the question, okay. So while she's typing her question, I will say that there was also, I know that sometimes PTAs get confused because now they allow you to get a debit card to purchase things, but that was online. That was really just for vendors who did not accept, most of our vendors accept checks. They know that we are a school. They know that we are PTAs that need to have everything on checks and so forth. So the card was there at the time when we weren't able to go into the schools and we weren't able to do a lot of things in person. But now, I think now there's more opportunity to do that. Okay, see the question? Can it be PayPal or Venmo as long as the account received the money ultimately is the yes, like, so if PayPal can be attached to the actual PTA, yes. And Venmo, I don't know, it depends on your bank. Some banks consider PTA accounts to be business accounts, so they don't allow like Zelle, they don't allow stuff like that. So it all depends on your bank and who you do banking with and what they allow as far as those apps go. So that can vary from bank to bank. But we do not allow any withdrawals on Zelle or Venmo or anything like that. Okay. It's best to just contact your bank and find out, you know, tell them what you want to do and see what options they have. But most of the time, they don't allow it. Any other questions? Anyone? No questions on your PTAs. You guys must be doing a fabulous job. That is awesome. Go D25. Let me just put, I always forget hold on one second. Let me put our email. I put our email for President's Council in the chat, so whenever you have any questions, please reach out to us. We will try to give you an answer between 24 to 48 hours, unless it's something that's totally new, and then I have to give it to Esther, and Esther will have to find out. But usually we're pretty good at responding 24 to 48 hours to support
I'll go
you.
ahead and put my email on the chat in case anybody has any questions. I know some of you already asked me personally, private, but I'm going to share with everybody my email address.
So remember, we're here to support you, whatever questions you have, whatever issues you're having in your PTA, please bring it to President's Council. That's what we're here for. And so if we can help you come up with something, a fundraiser or whatever. We always like to share good practices. So if anyone's doing something in their school that you find to be very successful, please share with us so that we can take your idea and bring it to our schools. I thought I saw a hand up. It just says iPhone.
Sorry, it's me. This is Franco, Carlos Franco.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Is there any way that I could have a copy of the PowerPoint?
Which one? There were two PowerPoints.
Oh, both if you could.
So Superintendent's is online.
That's the link I got already. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the chat. The 90-day plan's in the chat. The IEP training video is in the chat as well. So I think Francis,
we just need Shirley's
Shirley's
presentation. So if you go to the President's Council's website, there's a button for meeting documents, and you'll just navigate to today's meeting. And I'll put Shirley's file in there. I just need to get it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Louis. There's another question in chat in regards to bank balance. Is the PTA supposed to carry over a certain amount year over year? We always say for you to carry something. Maybe we usually recommend anywhere from 5 $5,000 is to stay, you know, but we don't really recommend more because that money that's raised is supposed to be spent for the students that year. And when you don't do that, parents sometimes get upset, but they have, you know, for next year, you might have some expenses. So the budget will tell you what you need, whether it's the communication folders, whether it's some supplies to get the PTA functioning. Some have fifth grade committees, like they'll give, in our school, they'll give $2,500 to the fifth grade to start them off. So we don't recommend more than $5,000 to be left over, unless you have other expenses that maybe has to be, you know, depending on your expenses, 8,000. We don't recommend anything being carried over that because parents will get upset and that you didn't use it, especially the parents who are graduating out, you know, that was part of their money and it wasn't spent on the children that year. Danielle or Esther, if you want to add to that, if you have anything else to add. Or
that's a high amount. If you have that money, fine. If you don't have that much money to leave behind, it's fine. You're looking, a lot of PAPTAs do start with, you know, less than that, because like Francis said, they do use the money to spend it on the children that are there during that school year. So I've heard PAPTAs leaving a starting fund of anywhere from 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, and we've heard all the way to 5,000, depending on how successful and how at fundraising they are. And I think it was a little bit easier while we were in person, but there has been a lot of creative ways that PAPTAs have raised money during these COVID times.
there was a question I found, I'm sorry, I keep calling you iPhone, but from now on, I think we should have people just rename themselves, like from their school and their name, so we can know.
Sorry about that. I had to switch phones. That's why. So this is actually not the phone I use for my meetings normally. That's what threw everything off.
Okay.
So quick question: Are we allowed with working our PTAs to have online storefronts for parents to be able to purchase things like custom shirts and things like that for their kids? Is that allowed?
Are you talking about like spirit wear for the school?
I guess, yeah. Like for example, let's say we wanted to raise money for the PTA membership, and we wanted to have a storefront to make it easier. So when they donate, that we could then have custom school shirts made through the storefront, through the donation.
You mean on your website for the school?
I don't know so I guess it's just like something very new, so we haven't really gone into that detail. I guess would we be able to post that in the school? Would that be the principal's decision? Or would we be able to do that as a PTA, period?
Well, you can talk to your PTA about different options of selling what we call spirit wear, you know, for the school spirit. And then you would always run everything by your principal just so that they can know what the PTA is doing. If you have access, I know that some schools put an online store on their website, or they do, you know, if you have that function, you can and have it online. Some people sell, you know, the clothing at meetings in person, or, you know, there's different ways of doing it. But you can, you know, set up your own store as long as it's on the PTA site. And again, anything online has to be directed to the PTA account.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. We work with Descending the Clowns for our carnival, PS 107. Thank you for sharing. I think we've had work with them as well. Also, oh, that's the recommendation for carnival vendors, DJ bouncy houses. Yes, Sending the Clowns, I think is one of them. But so many businesses have changed. I would just Google to see. But if anyone else is working with someone recently, because I know some businesses have changed or out of business, so definitely. Any new ideas for fundraising other than the classic chocolate sales, etc.? Our school does we do a really nice fall festivals. Fall festivals are pretty nice. It's also an event that families can attend. And, you know, there's still a lot of work to put in. It could be done outdoors. And you could always have a rain date. There's a lot of events. It's very hard at this time since we can't do in-person events, but there's a lot of places that can hold, like Panera does sometimes family night out and sometimes gives a portion of the sales, maybe 10% back to the schools. You can do that. You can also put raffles together with those events. There's a lot of different ideas. Our school last year did a silent auction, which was pretty, we did a lot of things online. We kind of created an Amazon wish list so that people would donate things, and then we created baskets, and then parents like auction, like bid it out for them. So it was kind of fun. And the school, I believe, raised a pretty good amount of money. And I think also they have on the ptalink.org, they have different, I think they have different links of things you can use for those auctions. So if anybody wants to share something that they do in their school, that they raise good money, please unmute yourself or raise your hand or put it in the chat.
I wasn't in the PTA at the time, but I did support it last year. Our school contacted some restaurants in the neighborhood, and they allowed us to do events for a certain amount of hours per day. Pizza, Five Guys Burger. We're actually going to continue that, and we're looking at some new restaurants that are opening up in the neighborhood that are. The idea is that within that time, whatever they sell, a certain percentage is going to go back to the PTA from whatever they sell based on our advertising.
Yeah, and that's always a great fundraiser because you basically just talk to the manager, make a deal with them, and then you just do a flyer. And then that night people will go out to eat at that restaurant. So it's always a good thing for the community to support these businesses, and also to have, you know, you go out and see other people from your community and especially from your school there as well. So thank you for sharing that. There's always a lot of different ideas for fundraising. Let me see what else we do. We do, for Valentine's Day, we do a kind of like a donut purchase, or we might do a cupcake where kids send messages to each other and they buy a cupcake for one another, or the parents can buy the cupcake for the child, or a parent can buy cupcakes for the whole class. So it's just a nice way for Valentine's Day to just show love and to show, you know, another event. We're always trying to look for different events for the children who have something to look forward to in school. So we were talking about absenteeism and making these kids go to school and want to go to school. And sometimes it's these events, right, when they know that there's a holiday boutique happening, or there's an assembly going on in their school, and all these things keeps these children excited about going to see that carnival that you have for them in the school, or so a chocolate day, or whatever you have for these children. They always have something. That's why they love going to school in pajamas or in their costumes or stuff like that. So all these fundraisers are not just a way to raise money, but it's also a way to have events in the school for the children. Okay, well, thank you for sharing those ideas. Anyone else have any questions of something we didn't talk about? Anything? Okay, Danielle, do you have any last comments or anything you'd like to share?
Nope, just that I'm really excited for this school year. I know it's going to be a great one, and I'm excited to be here to support you, Francis, and all of our parent leaders.
Thank you.
I don't know, sorry, Francis.
Go ahead, Esther.
I just wanted to, if you could go over the calendar, I did put it on in the chat.
In the chat. I have it on my computer, so let me just see here. There it is. Okay, hold on.
You were just gonna go over the dates and the email.
I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see it?
No, it's, yeah, now I see it.
Okay, so we have usually the third Monday of every month is our meetings. So this is what our calendar year is going to look like. Some of the Mondays, because they fell on holidays, we've had to make it a little earlier. So like example, Monday, January 9th, it was supposed to be January 16th, but that's a holiday. It's a Martin Luther King Day, and June 19th was Juneteenth Day, so we made that June 12th. We don't want you to have to come on a holiday to a meeting. So this is our calendar. I will put it, you said you put it in the chat, Esther, but
I did.
I didn't see it, but I will,
I could drop it in again if you want.
I'll put it in. I think I hope mine will go away.
Got it. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. It went in. And usually our meetings are 6:30 to 8:30. At this time, it's 8 o'clock. Sometimes we do end early. So I'll ask if anyone has any questions.
May I add something, Francis?
Absolutely.
If you notice that our link to this meeting is always the same. My colleague Louis Latito always updates, and we'll have this information there. Anything that you want to know, recording, this is recorded. This will be shared. If you go to www.d25.nyc/PC for President's Council, you will find the recording there, and you would find the link for every month. So it's the same link every month.
Thank you, Esther. I also put in the chancellor's regulations, which are always a great tool to have. It's a lot of information, but you know, whenever you're updating your bylaws, if you don't know what should be in there, you would read the chancellor's regs. And that's when I receive questions that I don't really know the answer to. I go back to the chancellor's regs, and that's where I find my answer. So remember, anything in your bylaws has to be in the chancellor's regs. You cannot have anything in your bylaws that's not in the chancellor's regs that's going to go against what the chancellor's regulations are saying. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes people have put in there the only rule in the chancellor's regs for a parent to run it for PTA is that you have to be a parent or a guardian just of a child in the school. So for example, you cannot put in your bylaws that you have to have 1 year experience before you could run for president or run for a certain position on the board, which sometimes people think they can do that. They cannot. If the only requirement is that you could just have to be a parent, then that's the only requirement in your bylaws. So I just want to give that example. But I put it in the chat because it's great to always keep on your desktop, on your computer. And what's great is once you open it, there's a little search bar. So if you have a keyword that you want to put in, like say raffle or expedited elections, it will pop up and give you a lot of information. So always have that as a tool, and kind of gives you the do's and don'ts of PTAs. Okay, at this time is 8:03 p.m. I'm going to ask if anyone else has any comments or questions. Going once. Going twice. I don't see any questions in the chat. Esther and I will be here even after the meeting has been ended in case anyone has any questions that they didn't want to ask here, but they want to ask us in private. So we'll be online for you. So at this time, it's 8:03. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting? It could be anyone. So unmute yourself.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank
Brooke
you.
Sturgeon.
And can I get someone to second it?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So at this time, the meeting has been adjourned. Thank you so much again for being the parent leaders that you are, for coming to these meetings and taking this information and bringing it back to your schools. We thank you and thank you for making our district the best.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night,
everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Have a good night.
We'll stick around for a few minutes. If there's anybody from the board.